The Memphis Grizzlies have fired head coach Taylor Jenkins. A big surprise with Memphis in 5th place in the Western Conference. 9 games remaining, 3 playoff appearances. He is the winningest coach in franchise history.
Something strange is happening with the Memphis Grizzlies. A few days ago, Desmond Bane shoved Santi Aldama during a timeout, and then Taylor Jenkins was dancing on the sideline in a timeout when the Memphis Grizzlies were down by 20 points. But despite this, the Grizzlies are tied with the Los Angeles Lakers for the 4th seed in the West, and they could theoretically even finish as a 3 seed if they win out the rest of their games. But it doesn't look like that's happening anymore because the Memphis Grizzlies have fired Taylor Jenkins, their winningest coach in franchise history, an individual that was able to win games with Ja Morant and without Ja Morant. And fans are wondering, why would they do this? There's 9 games left in the regular season, so make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications. And now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? On Friday morning, the Memphis Grizzlies announced that they were firing Taylor Jenkins, and they didn't provide much of an explanation at all. Their general manager, Zach Kleiman, said, "I'm genuinely appreciative of Taylor's contributions to this team and the city over the past 6 seasons. This was a difficult decision given the consistent and tangible development of our players and overall success under Taylor's leadership. I wish Taylor the very best going forward." It's even more impressive when you just consider Taylor's overall body of work. The Memphis Grizzlies were terrible in the 2019 season, which resulted in them being able to select Ja Morant with the number 2 overall pick. That same offseason, they decided to hire Taylor Jenkins away from the Milwaukee Bucks to be their new head coach. And immediately, the Memphis Grizzlies saw a sizable improvement behind a rookie Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. They weren't able to make the playoffs in Ja's rookie year, but they made it to the playoffs in every single year, except for last year when Ja Morant was practically out for the entire season. And it's even more impressive when you take a look at what Taylor Jenkins was able to do throughout his tenure with the Grizzlies. Take Desmond Bane, for example. The Boston Celtics drafted him with the 30th overall pick. The Memphis Grizzlies traded for him and sent the Celtics a future first-round pick in return. And Desmond Bane was far from a polished player when he entered the NBA. In his rookie season, he only averaged 9 points per game off of about 22 minutes per game. But in his sophomore season, he developed into a fringe all-star, averaging 18 points per game off of 44% shooting from 3. What was even more impressive was in that season, the Memphis Grizzlies were able to finish in 2nd place in the Western Conference, and that's despite Ja Morant missing 25 games. In those 25 games, the Memphis Grizzlies were still able to win 20 of them. They were able to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in the 1st round before losing to the Golden State Warriors in the 2nd round. So progress was being made with the Memphis Grizzlies, but a recurring theme kept rearing its ugly head. This would be the furthest Taylor Jenkins would make it in the playoffs throughout his entire tenure with the Memphis Grizzlies. And some of the things that he had to deal with were beyond his control. Like in the 2022-23 season, the Grizzlies were still one of the top teams in the Western Conference, finishing in 2nd place once again, but this was the season where Ja Morant was getting into trouble with the NBA for consistently posting himself on social media of him flashing a weapon. That, with some legal issues off of the court, completely sabotaged Ja Morant's reputation and was a huge distraction for the Memphis Grizzlies throughout the season. The result was they would lose to the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1st round of the playoffs. Following that, the Memphis Grizzlies would undergo a huge transformation. But once again, these weren't decisions made by Taylor Jenkins, they were decisions made by their general manager, Zach Kleiman. They decided to let Dillon Brooks walk following his antics in the playoffs, primarily this.
I don't care, he's old. You know what I mean? I was waiting for that. I poke bears. I don't respect no one until they come and give me 40.
But Dillon Brooks wasn't even the biggest loss for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tyus Jones was. They decided to let both of them walk and brought in Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose to try to fill the void. That, combined with Ja Morant's suspension and subsequent injury, resulted in the worst season for the Memphis Grizzlies in the Taylor Jenkins era, finishing 27-55 and 13th in the Western Conference. But this past season, Ja Morant was fully healthy, and it seemed like they addressed all of their issues. They decided to cut their losses with Marcus Smart, and in typical Taylor Jenkins fashion, he was turning players that would get no playing time anywhere else into solid role players. Take Scottie Pippen Jr. for instance. Played 6 games with the Los Angeles Lakers, averaged 2 points per game, then in the very next season played 21 games with the Grizzlies where he averaged 13 points per game before becoming a pretty sizable member of their rotation, averaging 21 minutes per game in 71 games this year and shooting 38% from 3. Taylor Jenkins garnered a reputation for being able to take these players that you wouldn't imagine being able to start anywhere else and not only turning them into solid role players or fringe all-stars, but developing these role players into having a spot in the rotation of a team that is consistently competing in the very deep Western Conference, which makes this decision all the more surprising. So what caused this to happen? Well, this was Taylor Jenkins' last press conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think progressively every game that we've played against them, we've shown better fight. Love the fight from the group tonight. Very encouraging. Obviously, fourth quarter was, probably everyone's natural takeaway, but what we did for the first 3 and change was awesome. I thought our discipline, our physicality was great. Obviously, Shea's a heck of a player. They got a deep team. They've got a lot of answers for a lot of things that you throw at them, but we had great ball movement, 15 assists in the first. I thought we could have had some more in the second. Obviously, the turnovers, bit us in, the fourth quarter. So overall, very encouraging, especially the tail end of a long road trip, the fight that our guys showed. We got to take away, it's not the margin of the loss here. It's just the fight that we had. That's the biggest encouraging thing.
And we really didn't get any clues from this press conference as to why the Grizzlies would fire him. Now, if you happen to be a Grizzlies fan that agrees with this decision, my only question is, how on earth does this make the Grizzlies competitive for the tail end of the season? This is a decision that you are more than welcome to make if you're not happy with your team's progress, but doing it 9 games before the playoffs when you could potentially even become a 2 or a 3 seed doesn't make a lot of sense at all. There are some clues that indicate that this is something that they were planning going into the season, because the Memphis Grizzlies changed all of Taylor Jenkins' coaching staff after last season, which is a very interesting decision to make, especially if the coach doesn't get to choose his own staff. And the prevailing theory is this was something they were planning all along. They named Tuomas Lasalo as their interim head coach, who's a native of Finland, a former Finnish professional player and coach, was the head coach of Paris's basketball team in 2024, winning the Euro Cup and Euro Cup Coach of the Year. Some fans would point out that maybe it's because the Memphis Grizzlies lost 4 of their last 5 games and are 8-11 since the All-Star break. But at the same time, Ja Morant missed 8 of those games, including the last 6 games. And even with that, the Grizzlies' record without Ja Morant is pretty impressive this year. They're 28-15 when Ja Morant plays, but they're 16-14 when Ja Morant doesn't play. So Taylor Jenkins doesn't even get an opportunity to see whether or not he can go further in the playoffs, and this has a huge domino effect on the rest of the season. The Los Angeles Lakers have been anything but hot over the past couple of games, particularly in their game against the Chicago Bulls. When they were up by 5 points with 13 seconds left to go in the game, Patrick Williams hits a 3, LeBron James turns the ball over, and Josh Giddey looks like the next coming of Michael Jordan over here, stealing the ball away from LeBron, finding Kobe White for 3. Austin Reeves is able to get the go-ahead layup, so Laker fans think that they're okay, only for Josh Giddey to get the ball back and shoot an incredible Curry-like half-court jumper to steal the game from the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the Lakers actually face off against the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow night, but what's even crazier about this is now it seems like the Los Angeles Lakers have no competition to be the 4th seed in the Western Conference, unless if the Grizzlies' new interim head coach is some sort of prodigy. Which, even if it is the case, I've never heard of a situation where a head coach gets fired 9 games before the NBA playoffs, and then the interim head coach has a dominant run in the playoffs. The Grizzlies are only 2.5 games ahead of the Warriors for the last play-in spot, and it seems like if the season were to end today, the Lakers would face off against the Grizzlies in the first round. Regardless, fans and myself included think that there's way more to the story. Either the Grizzlies had this plan to move on from Jenkins all along and switch over to the interim head coach, and they believe by doing this, they actually can make some noise in the playoffs because they have no faith in Jenkins' ability once they do get into the playoffs, or Taylor Jenkins did something really bad that we have no idea about. Something similar to what happened with Ime Udoka and the Boston Celtics when a report came out about an inappropriate relationship between Udoka and a Celtics staffer when Udoka was with the Celtics. Either way, there's no question about it. Taylor Jenkins is going to be one of the most sought after head coaches this offseason, so I think he's going to be just fine. It's just the timing of this all doesn't make a lot of sense at all whatsoever. So let me know in the comment section down below, especially if you're a Grizzlies Grizzlies fan, what do you think about this firing? Does it make any sense to you at all? Because personally, it doesn't make that much sense to me either. Apart from that, I don't know if you guys heard, Stephen A. Smith is crashing out over LeBron James's interview on the Pat McAfee show. It's really entertaining. We went through all the interviews and pieced it all together for you guys to create a coherent story. It's a pretty long watch, but I found it very entertaining. I'm going to leave a link to it in the end screen, and I'll meet you guys over there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.